Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching Indepth with your host Kriti Mishra. The Indian Constitution is divided into 25 parts and 12 schedules. The original text of the Constitution contained 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules. It came into effect on January 26, 1950, the day that India celebrates each year as the Republic Day. The number of articles has since increased to 448 due to several amendments. Here's everything you need to know about parts of the Indian Constitution. Come along. The Indian Constitution is the supreme law of India, establishing the framework for political principles, procedures, and the structure of the government. It is one of the longest written constitutions in the world, comprising of a preamble, 448 articles and 12 schedules, along with amendments that continuously adapt to the needs of the country. The Constitution of India was adopted on November 26, 1949 and came into force on January 26, 1950. The document outlines the powers, the duties and responsibilities of the government, as well as the fundamental rights and duties of the citizens. Let's take a look at the parts of Indian Constitution. Part 1. The Union and its territory. Articles 1 to 4. This part deals with the establishment, organization and jurisdiction of the Indian Union. It defines India as the union of states and union territories. It provides for the territory of India, including its states and territories, and allows for the creation of new states or the alteration of boundaries of existing ones. Part 2. Citizenship. Articles 5 to 11. Part 2 outlines the provisions related to Indian citizenship. It defines the ways in which an individual may acquire or lose Indian citizenship, including provisions on domicile, birth, descent, registration, and naturalization. Part 3. Fundamental Rights. Articles 12 to 35. One of the most significant sections of the Indian Constitution. Part 3 enshrines the fundamental rights of the citizens. These rights are guaranteed and protected by the Constitution, and any law that contradicts these rights can be struck down by the judiciary. The rights include right to equality from Articles 14 to 18. Includes equality before the law, prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth, and the abolition of untouchability and titles. Right to freedom, Articles 19 to 22. Includes freedom of speech and expression, assembly, association, movement, residence, and profession, subject to reasonable restrictions in the interest of public order and security. Right against exploitation, Articles 23 and 24. Prohibits human trafficking, forced labor, and child labor. Right to freedom of religion, Articles 25 to 28. Grants freedom of conscience and the right to practice, profess, and propagate religion. Cultural and educational rights, Articles 29 to 30. Protects the rights of minorities to conserve their culture, language, and script, and to establish and administer educational institutions. Right to constitutional remedies, Article 32. Allows citizens to approach the Supreme Court for enforcement of their fundamental rights. Part 4. Directive Principles of State Policy. Articles 36 to 51. These principles guide the state in the creation of laws, policies, and legislation. While they are not enforceable by the courts, they serve as a guide for the government to establish social and economic justice. These principles call for the state to work towards securing adequate livelihood for all citizens, equal pay for equal work, prevention of economic inequalities, promotion of educational and economic interests of weaker sections, including the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and backward classes. Part 4A, Fundamental Duties, Article 51A. This part was added by the 42nd Amendment in 1976. It lists the duties of Indian citizens, including respect for the Constitution, the national flag, and the national anthem, as well as the duty to promote harmony, protect the environment, and preserve the nation's rich heritage. Part 5, the Union, Articles 52 to 151. This part deals with the structure, composition, and functions of the organs of the Union government. The Executive, Articles 52 to 78, includes the President of India, the Vice President of India, and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. The President is the head of state and represents the Union. The Legislature, Article 79 to 122. India follows a bicameral system comprising of the Parliament, which consists of the President and two houses, the Lok Sabha, that is the House of People, and the Rajya Sabha, that is Council of States. The Judiciary, from Articles 124 to 147. The Supreme Court of India is the highest judicial authority. It ensures the protection of fundamental rights and final court of appeal. Part 6, the States, Articles 152 to 237. Part 6 of the Constitution deals with the organization of the state governments. It mirrors the provisions of Part 5 concerning the Union, but it applies to individual states. It discusses the executive. The governor of a state, who is appointed by the President, acts as the head of the state government, with the Chief Minister and Council of Ministers forming the executive. The Legislature. Most states have a unicameral legislature consisting of the Legislative Assembly, that is Vidhan Sabha, while some larger states have a bicameral legislature, that is Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. The Judiciary. Every state has its own High Court, which is the highest judicial authority within the state. Part 7. The states in Part B of the first schedule, Articles 238. This part originally applied to the states of Indian Union that were classified as Part B states after independence. However, following the 7th Amendment in 1956, this part became redundant. Part 8. The Union Territories, Articles 239 to 242. This part deals with the governance of the Union Territories. UTs are directly governed by the President of India and are represented by administrators who act on behalf of the President. Some Union Territories like Delhi and Puducherry have legislatures with powers similar to those of states. Part 9, Panchayats. Part 9 of the Constitution addresses the organization of local self-governments, specifically panchayats at the village, intermediate and district levels. It mandates the establishment of panchayats in rural areas to promote democratic decentralization. It also provides for the constitution of State Election Commission to oversee elections for panchayat. Part 9A focuses on urban local self-governments, specifying the creation and functioning of municipalities in urban areas. The provisions addresses the structure, the powers and the duties of municipalities and the establishment of state election commissions for conducting municipal elections. Part 10, the scheduled and tribal areas. This part deals with the administration and control of scheduled areas and tribal areas as per the provisions of the Constitution. The goal is to protect the interests of tribal communities and ensure that these areas are governed in a way that promotes their welfare. Part 11th. Relations between the Union and the States. Articles 245 to 263. This section defines the distribution of legislative, executive and financial powers between the Union and state governments. It also deals with the provisions of the resolution of disputes arising between the Union and the states. Part 12. Finance, Property, Contracts and Suits. This part deals with the financial relations between the Union and the states, the management of public funds, taxation, powers, and the distribution of revenue. It also specifies how property and contracts are to be handled between the Union and the states. Part 13. Trade, Commerce within the territory of India. This part ensures the freedom of trade, commerce within the territory of India and prohibits the imposition of restrictions on interstate trade unless they are in public interests. Part 14. Services under the Union and the states. This section deals with the recruitment, conditions of service and conduct of government employees at both the Union and the state levels. It establishes the Union Public Service Commission, that is UPSC, and State Public Service Commissions. Part 15. Elections. This part deals with the administration of elections in India. It provides for the Election Commission of India, which is responsible for conducting elections to Parliament, state legislatures and offices of the President and Vice President of India. Part 16. Special provisions related to certain classes. This part includes provisions for the representation of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and Anglo-Indians in the legislature, as well as measures for the protection and advancement of these communities. Part 17. Official language of the Republic. This part specifies the official languages of Republic of India. Part 18. Part 18. Emergency provisions. This part outlines the provisions for declaration of a national emergency, state emergency and financial emergency in cases of war, internal disturbance or financial instability. Part 19. Miscellaneous. Part 20. Amendment of the Constitution. Part 21. Temporary, transitional and special provisions. And Part 22. Short title, Commencement and Repeals.
बहुत लोग हैं इस देश के सार्वजनिक जीवन में जिनके परिवार में कोई गांव का सरपंच भी नहीं रहा है, गांव का प्रधान भी नहीं रहा है, राजनीति से कोई सरोकार नहीं रहा है, लेकिन आज अनेक महत्वपूर्ण पदों पर पहुंच करके देश की सेवा कर रहे हैं और उसका कारण बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ने जो संविधान दिया है उसने हम जैसे लोगों को अवसर दिया है और मेरे जैसे अनेक लोग हैं जिनको बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर द्वारा दिए गए संविधान के कारण यहां तक आने का अवसर मिला है और जनता जनार्दन ने उस पर मोहर लगाई तो तीसरी बार आने का मौका मिल गया। आदरणीय सभापति जी, संविधान हमारे लिए ये कोई आर्टिकल्स का कंपाइलेशन मात्र नहीं है, हमारे लिए उसका स्पिरिट भी और उसके शब्द भी बहुत मूल्यवान है।
हमारा संविधान आधुनिक गीता की तरह है जो हमें निरंतर कार्य करने की प्रेरणा देता है और राष्ट्र के प्रति अपने कर्तव्यों को बोध भी कराता है। यदि हम सब जनप्रतिनिधि, नागरिक, सभी संस्थाएं अपने कर्तव्यों को सामूहिकता के साथ पूरा करने का संकल्प लें तो प्रत्येक देशवासी के जीवन को बेहतर बनाते हुए एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत को साकार कर सकते हैं।
Well, viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.